I had been right about the power failure. Chris announced that the power had gone off largely because of the air conditioning at the hotel, and that the power company promised to have it back on by noon. Tulia served us fresh hot bread, her toothless smile lavish on us as though we were her honored guests. Sophonisba brought us eggs, smiling so that her front gold tooth reflected the light. I was sitting with my back to the monastery grounds, facing the sea, so I did not see anyone coming until I noticed people's heads turning, and I turned too, and there was Zachary. Found you at last, Polly, he said, coming up to the steps. He smiled at the tableful of what must have seemed to him very strange people. I'm Zachary Gray, a friend of Polly's, he said. I got here last night, just in time for the blackout at the hotel. I wonder if I could steal Polly for lunch today. Oh no, Zach, I protested. I have work to do. Chris looked at Noreen, who looked at me, then said, I'll need Polly in the office for a while this morning, but there's no reason she can't be free by 11, and we won't need her again till 2. That's fine, Zachary said. I'll be back for you at 11. Won't you stay and have a cup of coffee? Chris suggested. No, thanks. I have some things to do back at the hotel. I'm off to Mykonos tomorrow, so this is my only chance to see Polly till I meet her plane in Athens. At that, Omeo gave Zachary a sharp look. I did not think they would get on. Zachary represented a good many things Omeo was fighting, and while somebody like Sandy could see this clearly and still get along courteously with Zachary, I was not sure about Omeo. I'll rent a sailboat or a kayak for us, Zachary called as he jumped down the steps. Nice to have seen all of you. Very good looking, Millie said. He the young man who has kept calling? Noreen accused rather than asked. Yes, and who sent me flowers and made me feel special. I was excited to see him, and yet he seemed to slightly discordant note in this place and with these people, but I didn't wish he hadn't come. An old friend? Noreen asked. No, I met him while I was in Athens. You want to go out with him? Bashamath asked. Well, he was very kind to me in Athens. It'll be a kind of culture shock, V said, leaving the monastery and going to, another world with a beach full of topless bathers and people sitting around the pool drinking and ignoring the real unchlorinated water. If it takes you swimming, Omeo said severely, don't go out too far and don't be late. I won't be, I said. I'll have to be back at 2 to help Noreen. And then later we'll have her swim, V said. Zachary picked me up promptly at 11 in a rented car. Do you have your bathing suit? I can get it. Do, and hurry. I made our reservations for lunch at 1, and I thought we'd have a swim and a sail first. He'd rented a cabana for me to dress in and suggested that we swim in the pool. No thanks, I don't like chlorine and I do like salt water. All those rough waves, but we went in the ocean. Zachary swam moderately well. He did the strokes correctly, but he had no stamina. After a few minutes, he splashed ashore. I followed him and started to tell him a little about the conference staff, but it was obvious that he wasn't interested in the people or the worlds they came from. Do your parents know this mixed kind of group you're with? Of course. He headed toward the pier. I rented us a kayak. All the sailboats were taken, okay? Sure, a kayak's fine. Anything would have been fine with me, even a rowboat. I could still hardly believe that Zachary had come all this way to see me. The kayak was waiting at the little landing dock. Zachary and the attendants held me in, and Zachary sat behind, holding the double paddle used for this little playboat. The attendant said something in Greek that I could not quite understand, but I think he was warning us to be careful not to go beyond the white ropes strung from red buoys which enclosed a sizable section of water. You're a help to me, Polly, Zachary said. You help me think clearly. I've predicated my life on being a corporate lawyer. If I don't want that, what do I want? I couldn't be a doctor. I faint at the sight of blood. Listen, Red. He splashed with a paddle instead of feathering. I talked with my pop on the phone, and he knows your aunt and uncle. He does? Zachary nodded. Not personally. Reputation. He says they're dangerous. They're not. Hey, hold it. Don't rock the boat. You'll have us in the soup. Sorry, my jerky movement has set the little craft rocking, but stabilized quickly. Sandy and Rhea, don't you see? Pop has to think that way. Megabucks is the only game he knows, and people who care about people get in his way. If you want to put a highway through a village, you can't be concerned about the people in the village whose homes are going to be destroyed. Is that your world? I asked. Do you really want that? No, Polly, I don't. That's why I wanted to be with you today. I'm glad Dragon Lady gave you at least 3 hours off. He put the paddle across the thwarts and we drifted gently. I wanted to tell you that I've decided to stop paddling around Europe. I'm flying home after we've had a reunion in Athens airport, and I'm going back to college. That's wonderful. Then I looked around us at the softly slapping water. We're outside the white ropes. That's okay. I went way up this morning, and the sailboats all go out. He pointed to half a dozen colorful sails. I'll paddle us back in a minute. Right now, I need to talk. The problem is, Polly, I'm going back to college, but I'm not sure I still want to be a lawyer and take over Pop's world. Sandy and Rhea are lawyers, I reminded him. I'm not sure I'd have the guts to do what they're doing. I'm learning that I do have limitations. Sure, I said. We all do, but given the chance, we can go beyond our limitations. Do I want to? At least, do I want to put my life on the line? People like your uncle and aunt are in danger. Do you realize that? People like my pop, particularly those with even more money and power than my pop, are pretty ruthless about wiping out people who get in the way. They look down on lawyers who care about human life as stupid sentimentalists. Rhea and Sandy aren't sentimental. I didn't like this conversation. I looked around and all I could see was water and a couple of sailboats in the distance. The tide, I thought, was going out, and we drifted rapidly. Zachary, I said, I don't see the hotel. He looked around. Okay, we'll go back. He picked up the paddle. The thing is, Polly, you've really made a difference in the way I think about things. I've never been close to my pop, never loved him, but I thought his way of life was the realistic one, and that I had every right to inherit power and prestige. But here he is, middle-aged, with ulcers, not happy, and not knowing how to do anything but make bigger and bigger deals. I don't think that's what I want to look forward to. I'm glad, Zach, very glad. I didn't think I could take much credit for his decision. It must have been under the surface all the time, waiting to break through. But I was glad it had. He went on. I want to thank you, Polly. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my life, but you've turned it completely around. He rested the paddle again and bent forward to kiss me. It stopped being just a kiss and began to be more, and suddenly I wasn't sure how much I believed of all he just said. He drew back slightly, breathed, Oh, Polly, come. He put his hand behind my head to draw me closer. No, Zach. The boat started rocking violently. Watch it! And suddenly, we were in the water. We came up sputtering. I grabbed to the kayak as it began to slip away from us. Now look what you've done, he shouted. I didn't answer. He was thrashing about, tiring himself. Here, I called. Here, hold on. He grabbed at the overturned kayak and managed to get a grip. If it had been a canoe, I could have turned it over and got in. It's not so easy with an overturned kayak. Tread water for a minute, I said, and let me try to right the kayak. Without saying anything, he let go, and I got under the gunwales and pushed, kicking as hard as I could, and to my relief, the little playboat was light enough so that I could flip it over. The paddle was gone. Do you think you can climb back in? I asked. I doubt it. I'm not the athletic type. Do you want to try? Then maybe you can pull me in. I'll hold on and try to keep it level for you. Even without the paddle, we'd be better off in the boat. Zachary's stamina was not going to last long, but when I tried to pull myself up over the gunwales, Zachary lost his grip. Zach, hold on! He splashed back to the kayak and grabbed to the side, almost overturning it again, but this was not going to work. I looked around for the sailboats, but although I saw a couple, they weren't in hailing distance, and they were too far off for anybody to notice us. We couldn't stay in the water for several hours, so Noreen missed me and someone came to look for us. Zachary realized this too. If I let go and dog paddle again, do you think you can get in without my help? I'll try. I didn't say it would be easier without his help. I was almost in the kayak when suddenly he grabbed at it and I lost my balance and slid back into the water. Fortunately, the boat did not overturn again, but the little boat was made for the quiet waters around the dock within the boundaries of the ropes, not for the open sea. I didn't think Zachary knew much about boats. Left to myself, I could have managed to clamber in without overturning it, but Zachary was in a silent panic, and whenever I did, he was going to undo by grasping at the sides or letting go and risk being swept away by the undertow. I can't see the hotel, he said. I'd already told them that. Listen, Zach, my voice was urgent. Let me try once more to climb in. Tread water, but make sure you don't drift away. I'll try. He let go and began to dog paddle. I put one hand on either gunwale for balance and had almost heaved myself in when I heard him cry out. He had already drifted 2 lengths of the boat. I dropped back in the water, still holding the kayak with one hand because it would be madness to lose it, and kicked as strongly as I could in his direction. Zachary, swim! Try to swim toward me! The distance between us began to widen, and I could see that he was floundering, moving arms and legs aimlessly and futilely. I was going to have to let the kayak go in order to get him, and then what? We could never make it back to the kayak together. He simply didn't swim well enough, and we certainly couldn't even think of trying to make it to shore against the tide. I wasn't ready to die, but I couldn't save myself and let Zachary drown. Why not? If I didn't save myself, we'd both drown, and what good would that do? Polly, don't thrash Zachary, I shouted. I'm coming. I let go of the kayak. Polly! I had one arm around Zachary and was kicking to keep afloat. He was pulling me down. I couldn't go on holding both of us up for much longer. Polly! It wasn't Zachary calling me. Zachary was an exhausted dead weight. Polly! Here! I shouted. Here, Omeo, here! Keep calling so I don't lose you. Here! Here, Omeo, here! And suddenly, I saw a rowboat, a lovely solid rowboat, with Omeo at the oars. He saw us and pulled the boat to us with strong, sure strokes. Get Zachary in first, I said. Omeo rested the oars, reached out one strong arm, then both, as he realized that Zachary could do little to help himself. Somehow or other, Omeo pulling, me pushing, we managed to get him into the rowboat. Then Omeo's hands were stretched down to me, and with his help, I heaved myself up and flopped into the bottom of the boat, panting. The kayak, I whispered. Forget it, Omeo said fiercely. Then he turned to Zachary. He let out a long stream of invective in Bakian. If I had thought Bashamal's anger could be terrifying, I was not prepared for Omeo's. I'll pay for the kayak, Zachary said. And could you have paid for Polly's life? Do you know if I had been 5 minutes later, you both had been dead? Would you have made everything right by paying for the funeral? He was an avenging angel in his anger. I was still gasping for breath. How did you know? I was worried, and V said she smelled danger and told Frank, and he went with us to the hotel, and we were told you'd gone out in a kayak, but there weren't any kayaks in the roped-in area, so Frank suggested I take the rowboat. He and V will be waiting for us. He was rowing with strong, smooth strokes. Even so, it seemed a long time before we could see shore and the hotel. Where did you think you were going? Omeo asked Zachary. Some of Zachary's confidence had returned, though his face was pallid. I was thinking of emigrating to Syria with Polly. It was farther than I realized. It is not funny. Omeo still sounded enraged. Oh, come on, Zachary said. And then, with one of his lightning switches, I was an arrogant fool, and I'm beyond apology. I would not have any harm come to Polly, Omeo said. Vi and Frank were waiting at the landing dock, their faces lighting in relief as they saw us. Omeo drew the rowboat skillfully up to the dock, and the attendant helped me out. Thank God you're safe, Vi said. What happened? Frank asked. Zachary spoke swiftly before Omeo could say anything. I misjudged the tide and lost my bearings. Omeo burst out and lost the kayak. Polly was holding him up in the open sea. They couldn't have lasted much longer. I discovered that I was trembling. Frank put out a hand to steady me. We'll take you home, Omeo said. Polly is having lunch with me, Zachary said. Omeo leapt onto the dock. Polly is not going anywhere with you. For a second, I thought he and Zachary were going to get into a fight. Frank stepped between them, and I said, I think I'm too tired to eat. I'm going to get my clothes on. And I walked away from them, went to the cabana, and changed. I was still very shaky. When I had my dress back on, sandals on my feet, I returned to the hotel where they were sitting at one of the terrace tables waiting. The three men rose as I approached. Zachary said, Polly, please forgive me for having been such a monstrous fool. Frank stopped his apologies. Polly's exhausted, and we need to get her to bed. Zachary did not argue. I'll call you, Polly, if you're willing to speak to me again. I'll never be such a chauvinist idiot. It's okay, Zachary, I said. Frank borrowed Zachary's rented car to drive us home, and I was grateful. I wasn't at all sure my wobbly legs would have made it. Of course we'd missed lunch, but everybody was still in the refectory. Noreen looked up in surprise. Omeo and Frank will explain, Vi said. I want to get Polly to her room and into bed. Without saying anything, and somehow inconspicuous despite her great height, Bashama fell into step beside us. There was a near catastrophe, Vi said. Polly needs a hot bath in bed. It won't be a very hot bath, Bashama said. Even lukewarm would be heavenly. When we got to the room, the fan was whirring, so the power was back on. Go along, Vi said to me. I'll tell Bashamoth what happened. The water was at least warm and felt wonderful, and I lay back and relaxed for a long time, almost dozing once or twice. Till my twitching muscles let go their panic tightness. Then it occurred to me that Vi and Bashamoth might be waiting, so I got out and dried myself and put on my nightgown. Only Bashamoth was in the room. Vi's gonna see about getting some hot soup for you. I sat facing her dignified presence. Omeo saved my life. And Vi and Frank. It was Vi who had the knowing that there was something wrong, and Frank who had the wisdom to take her seriously. How did Vi know? Vi is a poet. Sometimes poets still have the ancient knowings. I was grateful to Vi, to Frank. But Bashamoth, I said, it was Omeo who came with the boat and got us out of the water. I was tiring. We were almost drowning. I couldn't have held on much longer, but you had left the little boat and were holding up a strange young man. What else could I do? What else? She turned to answer a knock. Noreen came in, carrying a kettle of something which smelled delicious. Millie followed with bowls, and Frank with spoons. Omeo and Vi came in together. Noreen set the kettle down on the empty desk. Get into bed, Polly. It will spoil you this afternoon, okie dokie. You and your rescuers will have some of this good soup Tulia has prepared, and then you will sleep. Someone will bring you tea, and you can come to the afternoon meeting, okie dokie. Very okie dokie, I said. Every bone and muscle ached, but I was so full of the love of these people I had not even met a few days ago that it didn't matter. Noreen ladled out a rich soup full of vegetables and fish, and Vi and Frank and Omeo and I ate. I was ravenously hungry. Back at the hotel, I had thought I would never want to eat again. Noreen noticed Zachary's flowers, which were drooping despite my ministrations. These are completely wilted. Do you want me to throw them out for you? It seemed like throwing Zachary out, but Noreen didn't know that, and it didn't make much sense to keep dead flowers, so I told her to go ahead. When we finished eating, everybody stood up to leave except Millie, who came and sat by me. I will give Polly a back rub. She will sleep better. Roll over, little one. I hardly heard the others leave. Millie's hands were strong yet tender, and she seemed to know which muscles I had strained. When I was half asleep, Millie drew the sheet up over me and then started to sing, not Saranam, or any of the songs she'd sung to the group with her miraculous voice, but a song with an odd minor melody and words I didn't understand but which weren't unlike Gaian. And I realized that she was singing to me as her baby. Back for this moment, I was Millie's baby, perhaps one of the children she had lost, and I was wrapped in her love. When I woke up, she was gone, and my muscles were no longer tense, but the scar on my foot was pulling painfully. Why? Rennie had come to look at my foot again on Sunday. He called on Monday after school, though he didn't come over because I said my foot was fine, and he called again on Tuesday. When Zan yelled to me on Wednesday, "Hey, Paul, telephone, I think it's Rennie again," I said, "Look, if you keep calling, they'll know something's wrong. Something is wrong. Okay, but I don't want them worried. Aren't they? I guess, but they don't know what about, and I don't want them to know." It was that evening Sandy called from Washington and said it just happened that he had to go down to Cape Canaveral to see someone, and he dropped off at Bennessee on the way if we meet his plane in Charleston on Friday. This is the kind of thing Sandy does, so nobody thought anything about it. We were accustomed to having him or Rhea drop in on us from all kinds of places. But when we were alone together, which wasn't until Saturday afternoon, he said, "I need some exercise. Let's go walk on the beach." We took our sandals off and splashed along the water's edge. He said, "Max called me." Max? I, too, had simply taken Sandy's coming for granted. "She told me to come because you needed me." We had splashed a little farther into the water, and an unexpected wave wet Sandy's rolled-up pants, so he turned toward the dunes. Finally, I asked, "Why did she say that?" "She told me what happened. Do you want to talk about it?" I was not prepared to have Sandy know. I was not prepared for him to have come to Bennessee because Max had called him. "You won't say anything to Mother or Daddy? You haven't said anything?" "No." "Are you going to?" "No." "Are you trying to protect them?" I didn't know who I was trying to protect. "Polly, you've had a lot of responsibility, helping your mother with the little ones, helping your father in the lab, doing all kinds of jobs most kids your age haven't had to do. You're very mature for your age in many ways, and very immature in others," I finished for him. Please, Sandy, I don't want you to say anything to Mother and Daddy." He looked at me for a long time. At last I let my eyes drop. All right. He turned toward a large sand dune, climbed partly up it, and sat down in a tangle of Scuppernong grapevines. I think I'd just as soon not say anything to them about it myself. The problem is, Polly, you made Max into a god. I know that. Can't you let her be a little human? I didn't answer. Are you being fair to Max? Sandy, like Ursula, was considering Max and not me. Was Max being fair to me? No, but two wrongs never make a right. What am I doing wrong? Do they somehow know about Rennie? But he said, "It's not what you're doing wrong, it's what you're not doing. Max wants to talk to you." I shook my head and looked into the vines as though looking for the dark fruit of the Scuppernongs. "Polly." He waited till I looked at him. "Max is dying." I nodded, again dropping my glance. "Perhaps you're too young," he said, as though to himself, "too overwhelmed. You need time, but I'm not sure there's enough time." I did not answer. He slid down from the dune, and I followed him back to the water's edge. "Your mother is inviting Max and Ursula to dinner tonight. It's the natural thing to do, since we've been friends for years and I haven't been here since Christmas. I don't want them to come. I understand that, and I don't know whether or not they will come." I got up and headed for the house. I could not see Max. I could not. I'd have to get out of it somehow. But when I got home, Mother was on the phone. It was her saying Max wasn't feeling well. Sandy took the Land Rover and went over to Beauclair. Rennie called to ask me to go out for pizza. He was able to borrow a boat, so we went, as usual, to Petros and sat in our usual booth. Max was between us. What had happened on Nell's green sleeping porch was between us. Polly, I don't want you to get the idea that making love is a casual one-time thing. It wasn't casual, it was wonderful. He put his hand over mine. I'm glad it was wonderful. For me, too. If my parents knew what happened between us, they think I should ask you to marry me, but that wouldn't be a good idea. I have a lot more studying to do, and so do you. You're much too young. But Polly, please don't let... I stopped him. Rennie, don't worry about me. I'm not going to make a habit of throwing myself at guys. How often do I have to tell you? Please get off your guilt trip. Our pizza was put before us, steaming and bubbling with cheese and anchovies and peppers. Rennie the Square, that's me. But the Reniers believe that there is right and wrong, and a world without restraints is going down the drain. Hey, Rennie, I do have restraints. What? My family, my parents, and my voice was very low. Max? Max acted without restraints. Okay, Rennie said. I'm glad you see it that way. I didn't know whether to hit or hug him. Maybe I acted without restraints with you, but I still thank you. He cut the pizza and put a slice on my plate. Oh, Polly, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, and don't let it spoil our being good friends. But everything was changed. He couldn't even talk about his pet South American diseases without our both thinking of Max. When you get back from Cyprus, he said, you'll have had a million new experiences, and you'll have been separated by all that space and time. I'll write you postcards, I said. In the boat on the way back to the island, he cut the motor as usual and bent to kiss me, then stopped. Why not? He held me so tightly that it hurt. Not tonight, Paul. I'm not sure I could hold back.